Hey, morning. Let me tell you what's going on up here. Name is Joe, right? I'm in constant trouble, right? I live in Vermont. I have a group of individuals who have been allowed to access a medical device put in my body, along with something they put in called a thought chip, the Google thought chip. Now, this chip has been in my head for 6 years. I've recorded it um, years ago on my camera. It's kind of a ultrasonic sound type of chip, right? Uses ultrasound to communicate with another chip, or you can listen into it from a distance if you have the right channel, and actually communicate with it, right? Now, this chip was put in me. I don't know, first surgery back in 2010, I believe. They put one in my mother as well, right? When she had surgery for her heart. Now, this chip, it monitors your thoughts, it records them to offline facility somewhere, and then it also, if they hack it, it can be used. It's used as probably like an assistant chip for someone with a disability to help assist them in their home or whatever. If they have a disability, it helps to fill in this thought gap, so you don't, maybe walk into something or do something stupid. It kind of like a auto reminder, kind of what the pilots use in the military for the drone pilots. It's a thought visual speech chip, which assists them in quick thinking because they're on a, like a video game flying an aircraft, so they got to think really fast and respond fast. So this chip is in me. Okay, so I tell the cops, I tell people, they don't want to listen. They think it's fantasy, make believe world, but it's reality. It exists. It's there. The medical community know, but they don't say anything because they don't want to be held liable. Right? I know it's there. I can pick it up. I can pick up the signal on my equipment here. My family, I think, knows about it because they're very precautious or precautious. What's the word? Where they kind of look at you and they don't talk to you. Like they know what you're thinking, and then when you say stuff to them in your mind, like, "Hey, motherfucker, you're a piece of shit, you fucking dirtbag," like you're saying something under your breath, and they turn their head and they look at you, and you smile. Hey sis, what's up? What's up? You say, yeah, what's up? And then in your brain, you say, fuck you, you dumb bitch. You fucked up my life, didn't you? And she turns her head again. What's he saying to me? So they did this to me to help me, they say, right? This group that did this will also monitor your performance and your behavior, paying your bills. So if I call in a bill or make a purchase order, they monitor it, and their particular group, their nemesis, I guess, that follows them, that they're apparently not aware of, at the same exact time is harassing me, trying to mess you up, trip you up, as they call it. So as I'm trying to perform my duties, doing this or whatever, on this transmitter receiver that I have here, that I can pick up the signal, I can hear the nemesis group trying to trip me up, or this other group is yelling at them, get the fuck off this channel, right? So now they can't reveal that this is going on. This chip is in a lot of people. Some say it's the Obama chip they put in. This healthcare chip that allows them to tap into your 47 kilohertz signal that your body puts out in your ears, kind of like those wireless headphones that you wear. It sits on your forehead. It uses the conductivity of your skin to send a signal into your brain, so it bypasses your eardrums and that electrical signal your eardrums produce. So this sends it directly in. So these people use that concept as well. Now, so they watch me, okay? They observe me. They know what I'm doing, okay? I've heard it when my house burnt down. If you listen to those recordings, there is actually someone talking on another channel. Now, the only thing I can think of is that these earbuds or these ears or whatever device on me emanates an ultrasound signal. It's a very high frequency. You don't hear it audibly, but it's an electronic kind of a higher frequency that can be recorded. And if you have someone monitoring you, their equipment sends and receives the same signal, right? So this is going on amongst my harassment up here, which I deal with, while the terrorists have hacked into my life and literally prevent me from doing stuff. I go out to my truck this morning. That my brake line's shot on the right. I didn't even leave the driveway yet. So this is something I'm gonna have to check out spring, which is 2 months from now. I sit and wait. Right, I have no wood. I'm supposed to get a wood delivery. It's raining. Right, I'm doing all this while I'm stranded up in a garage up in the mountains of Vermont. I should be down. I have a visual impairment. You know, we had attorneys. We had my mother paid for an attorney. She did her estate planning. I had an attorney. I paid for an attorney for my disability. We had another attorney, a family attorney. They all worked together, right? My family didn't know about this because they weren't involved in this part of the family. They were only involved in borrowing money part. So they set everything up for my future because my mother was sick with cancer. So they tried to establish a safe future for me, which would be the house that my mother had, that my grandmother had passed down to her, right? So this was a safe home for me to go with my visual impairment, which is one eye messed up really bad and a good eye that's kind of getting kind of old and senior citizen-ish. On top of this new problem, which is the thought chip that interferes with your ability to perform tasks by yelling at you in your ears and ringing your ears really loud. They love ringing and creating feedback in the ears. Now, this is all going on while another group observes this and just ignores it and just turns it off and goes back to work. Like, oh, well. So she set the house up. I was supposed to be living in a nice place in City of Beacon in a home with a bathroom, a shower, kitchen facilities, you know, a bedroom, a sleeping room, right? And I'm on Social Security disability, limited income. I would have been able just to maintain the property, pay the taxes, the insurance, whatnot. You know, they decided to say no. Somehow my family has spun it around the other side and insist there's nothing wrong with my vision problem. Okay, and they have told the courts up here in New York that there's nothing wrong, and the courts believe them, irrelevant of the medical documentation I have from Social Security disability, which they refuse to look at, and I say, oh well, you know, and they just ignore it. It's like they put it on like, this is tough love, Mr. Cullinan. This is tough love, you know. We want you to struggle because it's what you need. So now I should be living in that home. My timeline has been totally destroyed. I'm out of time. I'm not supposed to be up here in the freezing cold. On top of having my house burned down, which is supposedly coincidental that my mother was passed away a month before, along with my father, my stepmother, you know, kind of like I'm isolated, you know. I don't know who would go to this extent. Someone that has deep-seated hatred up here, you know. And people keep saying, there's got the suggestive voice up here, the guys that did the Newtown shooting. These are the same people. They use the microwave suggestive thought with the thought chip that goes in disabled people or people with disabilities. And to them, it's a game. They laugh their ass off and have the greatest time laughing about how it's so much fun to get people to do things by yelling at them all night. And they wake up and they do something stupid and they laugh. So the kid in Newton, Connecticut, wakes up, right? They have this visual chip that was probably in him and he was disabled. So he probably woke up that morning, opened his eyes, and he saw a video game going. Because this thing actually lays down some imaging in the back of your visual cortex. Because I've seen it happen in my good eye. I'll see like a blue square start to form, and then I'll have to clear my head and like scrub my head with a magnet in the back where this chip is, and then the blue square will disappear, you know? So I assume they did that to this kid. So he woke up. I'm a disabled person. He's disabled. I can relate. you got to be disabled to relate to these things. If you weren't and you were listening, you have no clue the reality of what it's like. Just like if no one ever stalked you or harassed you, you'd have no clue, right? If someone didn't steal your credit card 10 times, your data, you would never fucking know. You'd never know the feeling of having your credit card company call you every month for like 2 years, or every other month saying that you have a breach of security again. And to sit there and tell the credit card company, listen, I know who's doing it. It's Stuart Bowles. It's Corey Perkins. It's Deidre Perkins. It's Brenda Thompson. The computer geeks up here. They don't work. They don't work. They've fucking been doing this shit since they've been 12 years old on the computer. It's the damn Adams family who works as dental assistants with the chips they put in your teeth. They use these chips that go into your teeth that the dentist put in, and they log on the power grid. It's like a burst transmitter. In other words, when it comes through, it just picks up, say, 500 milliseconds. That might be 2 pages of data, right? Just say 2 pages of data, which is like thought or sound recordings transferred to like a printout. Joe said, Joe thought, Joe this, right? So they do this to me. I'm isolated now. It's difficult to get people to listen when everyone's got a normal life, and I'm limited funds. Plus, it's winter. I'm struggling. I don't want to be here. I cannot even go into this area out here. See this? If I go outside here, I start to get a headache and feel like lightheaded, and I have to go back into my house. Somebody watches my property and my movement. They have like these Wi-Fi camera auto trackers on me or something, and it just watches where I move. It detects movement, points to me, and I'll go back and forth, and I can feel this thing tracking me, right? And some of these people, this guy's 300 feet, this is 120 feet, this guy's 150 feet, all look down on my property, right? This guy over here, way to the back, right? He's about 1,500 feet. They all look down. I'm a homebody. I don't go anywhere, so I'm an easy mark, especially for someone that's a dealer that doesn't go anywhere or do anything. So now I'm under constant surveillance by a group of neighbors that are drug addicts who have vendettas, right? To the point they're connected to Beacon, New York, drug dealing network out of the city of Beacon, and in Connecticut, New London. I hear a lot. These are the main areas where the drugs flow into the area. Heroin, cocaine, this ain't pot. This is mostly the high-end drugs. So now they use a little confidential informant network that the DA has. So these are probably so-called covert drug enforcement agency buys. So they're allowed to perform like this to hide their true intentions. But they're sick. They get off on it. They really enjoy it, right? And they get really pissed when I talk like this because I could hear them. Because light energy transfers sound just like a piece of string and 2 cans, right? Take a string 100 feet long, tie a knot in it, right? Slip it through a can, tie a knot, pull that string tight for 100 feet, right? Pull it really straight. Hold one up to your ear and have the other guy hold it to his mouth and yell into it. Believe it or not, you can hear the sound in the other can 100 feet away. That's a piece of string with the analog audio signal traveling down the string into the other can. Now, what they use is laser light, right? Which is a light beam of energy. So that touches your house and it touches their house. It goes all the way down. Now, this can go for 3,000 feet, 5,000 feet. And when it goes through their house, it picks up the vibrations. And when it goes through mine, it picks up those vibrations. Now, those vibrations are at the frequencies that they're sending. If you have a receiver, like I do this microphone stuff I have set up, I can pick up the sound on the radio. Plus, your ears itself, you can pick it up very subtly and weak. And if you step in front of the light beam, your ears will ring really loud, and then it will stop ringing. Now, my mother had the same problem in Beacon. Her ears were ringing so loud, she couldn't hear her TV, all right? They burnt her up so bad, her blood and her skin. She she lost her. She had to go for a hysterectomy eventually, and her gallbladder, and they burnt her chest up, and they burnt her blood up, and then she had to go for dialysis because her blood was all killed, right? And that's the people in Hamilton Fish Plaza in City of Beacon. They have a big project plan for that. They're going to raise the roof on that building like 3 stories, and my mother lives. Her house is next door, so they got a big plan for $100 million government housing plan and development. That's $100 million that the government helps, and then you pick up the balance, which is another like $200 million of your drug money, and they're going to build one of these high-rise ghetto projects, low-income houses for what, colored people and Mexicans, right? And so I assume that's what they're probably working on there, right? And to get me out, because they keep referring on this other channel, this walkie-talkie I pick them up on, as they refer to me as Lucy Cullinan's son, Joseph Cullinan. That's how I'm referred to. I'm not like Joseph Cullinan. It's Lucy Cullinan's son, Lucy Cullinan's son. So I assume the connection goes from there up here. The people up here, they arrived 12 years ago. Okay, and they have not left me alone for 12 years, documented with the Vermont State Police, which looks upon it as like, gee, Joe's quirky, disabled man. He's probably cabin fevered out. But if they examine all the data and they just sit back and rationally say, gee, let's just look at this, sit back, put it on the big board, poke this up on a big board and just look at what's going on and look at the players, right? If they were to sit back and observe this, now because I learned more and more. 3 years ago, I had no idea they were harassing me without me knowing it. I thought I was sick in my bed because I had surgery on my neck. So I'd get sick every morning. You know what I mean? Like really tired. I'm like, I'd wake up and I'm like, after sleeping all night and like getting these electrical shocks in my body and my body twitching, I'm like, gee, must be that auto accident. I got a pinched nerve. I'm putting ice on my back. I got a heating pad on my back and ice on my neck. I'm thinking, gee, I must have like a inflamed, something in my spine is pinching a nerve. And I'm telling my mother this on the phone, and I'm talking to her and she's saying, yeah, my ears are ringing. Can you look up this prescription for me? And I'm talking, we're just talking back and forth for years about how we're fucking dealing with this pain and suffering. Neither one of us had a fucking clue that the crew set up on us, around me and around her, using a very, very slow process of whittling away at the human body little by little, because they must have a long-term plan. Well, how many years we got? We got 10 years to get this set. Why don't you start working on that, family? We'll clear those people out. Right? And they just peck away because they keep saying, when you're going to move, when you're going to move, get out. I don't know why they want this land. The only thing I can think of is they want me eliminated because, like I said, I have a have and hold on the residents down in the city of Beacon, Dutchess County, New York. Meaning I was put on the title as a have and hold. Meaning I have like real estate law. Have and hold is like one of these terms that they use for real estate. I took a real estate course, There's tenants of occupancy. You have tenant to this, and you have and hold, which allows you access to the property, irrelevant of who owns the property. And you have to clear that title. You can own the property, but if you have a have and hold, you're allowed to use the property. Now, there's weird real estate law is a little different than Social Security law or social service law or corruption law, which they twist, spin, and they pay lawyers and judges to manipulate the system. So now, got the connection there. My mother, me. My house is burnt down. They're still after me daily. This one person, this one woman, it's like her vendetta. I mean, and she's so upset sometimes because she doesn't get paid until they accomplish the contract. Okay. And she took the contract because it was close by, and they don't get paid until I'm either eliminated or put in a situation where I've been demoralized beyond belief and I disappear, right? So this is going on. This is a fact. This is going to be in history. This is going to be like in the history books, 20 years, 30 years from now. All of this that goes on, it's all electronic, digital media, okay? Recordings, whatnot. They have a thing called the cloud now. It's called the iCloud or the cloud. That's this universal storage space in cyberspace that exists. It's there. You can't delete it. It's not on a hard drive. It doesn't exist on something mechanical. It exists in the ether. Okay, it's the energy of the earth. It's like the energy of the earth is the storage media for this signal, right? The only way you'd probably erase it is a huge EMP blast in the planet. And even if you did, the signal would still reside on the other side of the planet and just keep circling in the ionosphere as a very special waveform that maintains itself by the energy feeding it. So now this energy signal that stores the data that's accessible by the scientists now will be available sometime in the future, like the Library of Congress, which records and gets a download from NSA signal intelligence every day. Every signal, every transmission, every phone call is captured, saved, and then stored in the Library of Congress, right? So it's accessible sometime in the future. Very difficult to get to. But if you were to do some, archaeology studies in the future, right? Archaeology of digital media, it might be 20, 30 years, and they're going to say, check this out. Wow. Here's audio recordings, right, that go back to the invention of the smart meter that just started back then, back in the 2015 era, the smart meter technology. And check this out. And they go, this is one of a robbery that occurred in Montpelier, Vermont. And this is a suspect, right? He has a BB gun. And he goes in and he tries to rob a bank and ends up at a Montpelier high school and gets shot by the state police because they think he has a gun, right? But all of this is going to be recorded on the smart grid meter because the kid probably has, right, his shots as a student for this new Obama chip that records your thoughts and retransmits them and stores them on this universal computer memory system. So the whole incident in his mind, his perspective is recorded, as well as each officer's perspective is recorded, as well as every viewer in the country's perspective is recorded. All of these are accessible through the NSA computer on one Cray supercomputer, okay, for the whole United States. That's all you need. The speed is there, every individual, right? So this data is going to be there, as well as all the data on Joe Cullinan's brain and all the data on his mother's brain, the years before they beat her up and baked her, the years of them harassing me, all these. It's like leaving your recorder on in your house while you listen to music and you get a copyright infringement on it because they detected the music in the background. The same concept. This software will run through and it will pick up the audio in the background because it's an ultrasound. It emanated. It's electronics, right? So all of this is going to be recorded. All of it's going to be archived. It's all going to be accessible at some point in the future. It may be 20 years. What's this? 2016, 2018. So say 2028, 2038. That's 20 years. That's a long ways off. Now, 20 years ago, 2008, right? No, not 20. That would be, let's say, 1998, right? We just got Windows 95 was just up and running, right? Windows 95. Windows 2000 wasn't here yet. Windows 98 came in, right? Now, what you can do on Windows platform back then was limited. Not what you can do now. I cannot do what I'm doing right now. Broadcast on a USB channel while sending video on the same channel while observing and surfing the web on another channel while while watching my clock tick on this channel, while I'm watching the TV, while I'm sending audio on the power lines, while it's all being stored and saved on another channel, while it's being archived on by 50 other different computers that are backed up, while it's going to an archive underground United States facility with over 200,000 employees from the federal government working in a covert underground city that no upstairs or the ground could even go see because the security level is so intense. But yet everything we say or do is being observed, and they can't say or do anything because if they do, they'll reveal themselves. You know. So this is what's going to happen in the future. At some point, the truth will come out, and people will be vilified. Others won't. Some will be come out and say such and such suspect, so and so, that was in an armed bank robbery. It turns out that the individual's brain was being harassed through this chip that was defective that the government had placed in him 5 years earlier as an adolescent. Now, the chip was being used by a group of nefarious terrorists that were causing him to hear conversations and telling him to do things by programming and brainwashing him with ultrasonic brainwashing frequencies, causing him distress, confusion. And if you watch the videos, that's what it appears he has. This is accessible now, officer, if you're listening. I don't think you understand that. I mean, it sounds far-fetched, it sounds crazy, but like I said, 20 years ago, right? They had pagers were so big. You punch in a number and you get a beep, right? That's 20 years ago. Do you know what you could do now on a pager? You can take a communicator like on Star Trek, videotape your face talking, hit send, put it on an email, send it to someone. Their phone goes. They open it up and they get a video mail. Hey, how you doing? You gonna come to the job? I'm waiting for you. You know, I got all the right. This is in 20 years. So now let's say 20 years from now, this thought chip, which is available, you can pay for it if you got the money. The software is out there. It's cutting edge. It hasn't gone mainstream yet. Okay. When it does, it's going to blow people's minds away in 10 years because people are going to get paranoid. These drug dealers that are 27 now who have killed people and it's on their mind, it's like their souls have recorded it. They're going to start to say, do you realize that 10 years ago, they're going to be 37 in the future, right? 40. 10 years ago, we killed a lot of people and took their property and their homes, you know, and that's how they're living now. Because imagine 10 years in the future, Joe Schmo, he's got his nice little house up in Vermont. How did he acquire it? Well, 10 years previous, he went in, killed the homeowner and the wife, and transferred everything over as though he was the son, and now lives there with a fake identity as the son, right? Meanwhile, the two parents that weren't his parents are in the backyard buried, and he's acquired all their wealth, and now he is whatever, Joe Schmo in the future. But what's going to be there? The proof of the thought chip, which will have captured the whole crime, thought crime, right? Everything that occurred. This is based upon my analysis of the chip that's been put in my head and how you can forward think things out, you know? Because, I mean, gee, think about it. Like I said, I'm working on my truck. Okay? I'm absent-minded Joe. I have a vision problem. I'm very absent-minded. I mean, I put tools down. I can't even see them if they're right in front of me sometimes. I'll be standing by this truck. I'll be working on that fucking mirror. I'll lay a tool down, and I'll turn back to use the other tool. I'll turn back, and I just don't see where I put the tool. And I got to keep scanning. Now, this chip would be there to say the tool is right down on the right. Put your hand down and move it to the right. Because I don't see it in my vision, your near vision's seen. But sometimes if I move around a little bit and the light changes slightly, you'll see a different reflectiveness coming in. I'm like, there it is. It's sitting right on the fender. I just don't see it because it's kind of the shadows are blending it in, you know? So that's how this chip would be used, right? Now, that event that I described would actually be stored in the annals of history, right? Annals of history, however it goes, right? So now I can sit there 20 years, 30 years in the future as an old man and say, gee, computer, do you remember that day I lost that tool, right? And the computer will say, yes. And I say, I don't remember what I was working on, right? Because when I remember, I worked on something and I put something somewhere, you know? I had some extra cash, and the computer would say, okay, we found the moment in time 25 years ago. You're working on a mirror on your truck parked in your location. Da, da. Okay, you put something on under the seat that you had in your pocket to keep it from falling into the dirt. Oh, I say, there it is. I'd run outside of my burnt out house that I'm living in now for 30 years still. This truck will still be here, and I will run out while I'm still broadcasting this signal 30 years in the future. Pick up whatever little gadget thing I placed under the front seat and say, oh, thank you, computer. And I'd go back inside, right? Now, the same goes for this kid that committed that crime. Now, he probably robbed the bank, they said, but who told him to rob the bank the morning he woke up? Now, my theory is that these nefarious creatures out here, they enjoy creating havoc, and they enjoy chaos. These guys, you got to hear them laugh when they fuck someone up. They're like the guy that trips you in the cafeteria and you fall down with a tray of food, and they start laughing. That's who these people are. Okay. So they constantly laugh at me. They probably laughed at that kid getting shot. Now, the media recorded it on an audio as well as video. Now, if that media was to analyze the sound on those videos, they probably hear normal sound. But you have to deep analyze through these frequencies that you do not hear audibly. Okay? And these signatures, these signals are ultrasound, which you won't even pick up with some equipment unless you specifically search for it. Okay? They're there. How do I know? I had a Sony Handycam, right? I had recordings before my house burnt down that went back 20 years. And I used to listen to some old recordings. And I'd say, gee, boy, that sounds good. You know, the crispness of the quietness of the background sound while I'm like pointing at stuff. You can hear the birds chirping. I'm like, wow, good recording. Move forward 10 years, right? About 5 years ago, I'm watching some recordings. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with my audio track on this? Because you hear this. Right? You hear this constant huss or this. I'm like, what the hell is that thing? And I start tuning it in and tuning it up, right? And I'm listening to it and I keep looping it. You got to loop it. And your ear tunes to this weird sound. You're right? Someone saying, what the hell are you doing there, Joseph? And I keep listening and you keep hearing. Right? So you'll hear that going on. And I hear this on the recordings I did. Right? Because I'm into videography, and it kind of perturbs you when you do video and you hear a noisy soundtrack. And then you start going crazy and you start saying, gee, do I have a ground loop problem in my receiving equipment? Am I picking sound up? So I went and I bought all these filters to filter your audio channel down to create these ground loops, right? And I'm trying to quiet my signal down. I'm like, where the hell is this coming from? It's not coming from my computer, not coming from the AC line, you know? And I'm like, I get it quieter and quiet. Now I'm getting super quiet, right? And I still hear it. I'm like, this is messed up. And then you get perturbed. You can say, oh, well, that's that. That was 6 years ago. Now I know what it is because it's an actual communication signal in the atmosphere as well as one pointed at your house. This laser guided signal generates a lot of noise that your handheld picks up, your recorder. It's evident, okay? Go watch YouTube videos. If you don't believe me, go analyze some of the YouTube videos of an aircraft's engine flying. You can hear an audio channel in the background, okay? Or usually when there's a lot of noise, it will amplify another sound that's in the atmosphere, and you can pull it out. Now this is going on. It's going on. It's going on. It's what it is. It's what it is. It's technology. It's science. It's there. It's not the science I thought I'd get into, or the technology of sound like this. The guys that do this are very, very good sound engineers. They understand sound beyond. Just like a laser tech or a light tech understands light. You know, you can polarize light, and you can remove an image from someone's sight by simply polarizing it, right? I bet the same goes for sound. Now you can polarize sound by changing it a tiny bit and remove it from a human hearing, right? The same exists. These people know how to do this and manipulate sound and vision. Why? They're predators, okay? These are the predators that do this. They will prey upon you as you go in and out of your home. They even have a device. It flashes light at a certain rate, right? If you point it at somebody's head and eyes, you literally can stand in your home as they walk in, point this flashing strobe at them that's flashing so bright that their eyes like will divert it and look around and see everything but you sitting in front of the flashing light. Now someone's yelling, Joe, what do you want? Hold on, let's hear what this nitwit wants. He's saying, Joe. So there you hear that guy talking. Now it sounds like a conflict. Now I would think that there are two people. They're playing good cop, bad cop, right? This is my perception of the problem. If there is an actual element of goodness out there, I'm not aware of it. So I'm going on the preconceived notion and the notion that I am preyed upon. There's only one bad person, and they're playing good cop, bad cop, okay? The range of the device probably in me is around my residence, right? Light, noise. Now the power lines pick up this tooth and retransmit it. When I go in my vehicle and put the radio on, I could hear as though someone's tracking, but they can't quite pick me up. In other words, like it's an ELF signal, like they can hear, but there's a delay in my thoughts. If I wear a helmet with the magnets in it that jam my brain's energy signature, they lose the ability to hear the thought processor transmitter, which I think, I'm not sure how it works. Does it retransmit it down to an ELF signal and it buffers it and then sends it out as rudimentary printed out like SCA, which is like sound to text signal. So anyone observing it is merely watching like a ticker tape, going tick 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 tick. And like right now, I'm reading the on-screen, my new signal, right on, take it away. This is some guy. I'm reading the on-screen printing device, the visual impaired or the hearing impaired thing. Okay, I'll be dancing, and it shows music signs. I'm not changing the rules. Now, I don't hear the music because I have the sound turned down, but I'm reading what the guy's saying. But it's not really what he's saying. If you go and you listen and watch, you know, it's off slightly. Same thing with this thing that they have in my head that picks up your subtle thoughts or sounds, makes a printout. It might say S, T, semicolon, you know, S, T, semicolon, right? This guy keeps yelling on this other channel. They're coming up with your wood, Joe. They're coming with your stuff, Joe. See, these are irritants. These are harassers that observe me and keep yelling into my home what's going on in my home. So if I had a girlfriend, they were just saying that the governor's listening to this and that he totally agrees, and that's how they know everything. That's what this one guy. I'm like, where do they come up with this shit? These demented individuals out here have a very strange kind of imagination, kind of like a PlayStation app or like fantasy football or Dungeons and Dragons. So they're probably geek hackers, right? But they live in a fantasy world, very introverted fantasy world. They love messing with people when they don't get detected, right? It's like the little short 5'5" kid, 110 pounds, right? he makes his voice like this all the time, and he yells at people. I'm gonna school you up, motherfucker. Right? And he listens to their response, and the response is suspect or subject is emanating a slight fear level. He's like, oh, I'm making you scared of me, aren't I? Right? And all it is a short little punk kid, right? I mean, if I walked up to him, I'm like, let me tell you something. I'm 100 pounds heavier than you. Like this is my neighbor. I'm like, I'm 100 pounds heavier than you, and you're giving me a hard time. This other neighbor next door, he's about the same size as me, and I'm like, I'm 100 times more intelligent than you. I'm not an alcoholic, and I'm not stumbling around in a stupor. Yet you convey yourself to me, and the way everyone sees you is an alcoholic drunk, stooped over, stumbling around. But you're acting like you're superior intellectual thought. Like you got to get, you know what I mean? I don't know how to explain this. It's like being at a bar, and a drunk comes up to you, and they're belligerent, and they think they're totally like on the ball, and you're like trying to tell them, get out of my face, man. And they're like, now they're going to pick a fight with you because you offended them, and you walk away calmly to the other end of the bar with your friend, and then he'll come walking right up to, what's your fucking problem, man? You mean I'm not good enough to talk to you? I'm not good enough to talk to you? This is the type of mentality next door, right? And then you'll move again, and then he'll come follow you again. Hey, and then he'll start shoving you, and then you'll get up and you'll leave. Let's go, John. And you'll get up, you leave, and the guy will follow you out drunk. That motherfucker. And I say, I'm going to follow them now. And then he'll follow you home. You pull in your house. He'll pull in the driveway and say, hey, pal, you got a problem, don't you? Then he'll pull a gun out. This is the network next door. This is the type of brain he has. All tough guy, right? Until the cops show up. And then when the cops show up, he's like, whoa. It wasn't me, officer. It's this guy right here. I'm not drinking and driving. There's no way you can prove it. You can't prove nothing. And this is how that mind is. So here I am waiting for my wood, rambling on about a what do you call it? Bank robber that gets shot, and how the thoughts are captured. And that if the police want to know, this technology is out there now. It's called the Google Thought Chip. It's the smart grid compliant devices. It's there. If they were to go find the kid's brain signal, his frequency, if they do an autopsy and they find the chip in him, it probably has the module number. They can link that to whoever is accessing his chip. It requires a big finesse. It's like analyzing a hard drive in a murder investigation, right? The cops may do that. The cops may not. The FBI may. The FBI may not, right? They may say, nah, it's not worth it. Then again, if they send it to the lab, they'll say, gee, good thing we checked this out, because the layer below this is all the evidence, right? It's right there. All we did is scan it and recreate all the, and all the memory. Same thing with this shit. It maybe it's a 2-hour, let's say it's a 1 gig chip, right? In his head. It records, say, 24 hours, 1 day, right? So it records the 1 day, and then every day it just records over itself, 32-bit, say. Every day, all it does is changes the 32 numbers, 1 through 32. All it does is changes number 32 to 1 and starts recording again. So everything is offset tiny bit. But everything under that layer has been recorded. So now 32 has been changed to 1 now, right? But at the very beginning, say it's only using a 16-bit signal, you still have that buffer, those other 24 or so bits, right? And then this will go. So you can go down 20 layers and actually recreate 20 layers of data. So in this case, 20 days of an audio channel. 20 days of somebody harassing that kid to go do what he did. Because guess what he had in his hand? A BB gun. And he's out of school. right? Now, why is he out of school with a BB gun? They said he came from up north, right? That's weird. That's not even true intentions. You know what I mean? That guy wasn't even, he's not even like with a real gun. This was a BB gun. I mean, there's something wrong. Someone fucked this kid's head up, and then he got blown away. And then they deceived the cops. So this is what these nitwit crew will do out here. So they will sit and observe the situation occurring, and then they'll start using their microwave beam device. The cops have the chips in them as well as you can influence someone's head from a distance. So now they're going to harass the cops while the cops survey the situation, right? Tonight, exclusive about inside North Korea, Lester Holt. Okay, I guess he got in. So they influence the police subtly. Why don't you pick up your gun, shoot that motherfucker? Shoot that motherfucker. Go, pick up your gun, shoot. Right, so they're going off. Now, this is going to be recorded in each of those law enforcement's thought processor, probably layered now 24 hours ago. We require a very sophisticated analysis of the chip, you know, kind of like they'd have to sit down in a special chair, have the device go around their neck, have the FBI agent or the scientist hit record and say, just stay seated for about an hour. We're going to scan the chip and get as much data from it as we can. Now, it's going to take each officer probably 2 hours of their time to sit patiently while they download all the data. And then once they download it, right, then they have to analyze it, convert it, and then you have what? 20 hours of audio. Now, how do you listen to 20 hours of audio? It's going to take you 20 hours, right? And then analyzing 20 hours, you can only pick out a few this, or this, that, right? So that's going to take another 10 hours. And then you have what? We have, right, say, let's narrow it down to 36 instances that we want to analyze, but there might be 150. So we're only going to pick the most prominent 36 sound bites, which are approximately a minute long, right? So now you've got 36 minutes of pertinent information that you have to go off of. That's 36 strings of leads, right? So now we have to go, okay, we're going to need a computer to do this. We're going to need a supercomputer, artificial intelligence, or analyzer of some sort, because right now we need close to 36 people analyzing this and doing a report, 36 reports on 36 pages. And then someone would have to present 36 pages with 36 reports and then compile them all into one report that tells you what happened. What's the real story? I mean, this ain't going to take no by the weekend. You're talking, this might be 2 weeks of analyzing the data and those, whatever, participants within a radius. It's going to require a supercomputer to analyze all this thought data with keywords. Because now remember, while all this audio in real time is going on, right, real-time audio, you have the thought channel, which is a different, say, file format, right? It might be called a .tgh file, which is a mere a text file, right? Which are phrases and words that the individual was thinking at the time the incident was occurring, which would then have an inflection of whoever's harassing his mind. For example, I'm sitting here watching, talking to you. They're analyzing my thoughts in live time, but I keep glancing out at the TV, temperatures. I'm watching the weather. But yet, as you listening, if you were to analyze this in the future, you'd be coming along reading what Joe's thinking and talking about audibly, going into his brain thoughtfully, while it being influenced with an outside source. And you'd be like, what does that mean? Temperature. What does that mean? Why is he talking temperature? What does that mean? Now, you wouldn't know unless I told you, like I just did, I'm watching the Weather Channel. All you would think is this guy's thinking temperature. Does that mean he's cold? Maybe he's cold. Well, I am cold. You know what I mean? Does that mean this? Does that mean that? Does that mean this? Does that mean that? Right? So we got problems up here in Verchier, big time. We got a bunch of people using technology, and they're abusing it. They abuse it. Why? Because it's easily abused. Very easy to abuse it because they're criminals. They're looking for the easy buck. Like yesterday when I ordered my wood, they went off literally. It's recorded on my thought processor as well as the smart meters location for these channels that are dedicated. They harassed me for a good 3 hours about stealing. Here, a string of burglaries up in Milton. Okay, happened during the day when no one was home. If you have any information, you're asked to give a police call. So they are watching homes again. Like I said, officer, they use the smart meters. They hack in through the power grid software. Right. This is Fairhaven, home invasion in Fairhaven. This guy's got a weird tattoo on his hand of some kind of eagle or something. That might be a chip in his fucking hand. You know? This is going on. This is on top of yesterday's shit on the news. This is only the afternoon now, right? Old Turpock Road, home invasion suspect in court. This is another guy, right? Now, where's his hands? I don't see his hand. He has a tattoo on it. You can't see it. Why don't you see a tattoo on his hand? This is weird. There's another guy. Nicholas Sweet arrested. Is that the guy up here, Nick? Okay. So I'm watching the news. This is the afternoon news that goes on about this time. Watching the governor's on now. Lo and behold, I happen to mention the governor because the big budget's in, the country's in, what they call it, shutdown. For good reason. I think it's good. The shutdown, why? All these government programs, this stuff that they use in me, this is government at one point. This is all research, scientific data used by companies to develop a device. It's somehow been released into the general public, and now some of these programs are old government software programs running on old systems somewhere. You know, it might be out of Northern Vermont College, like some program just running that everyone forgot. That class graduated. The system's still running. There's a guy that comes in and keeps the program going. You know, the software program. And the government shuts down, so those little programs lose their funding. So then now, when they lose their funding, they have to turn off because they have to get money to keep running, I suppose. Now, I don't know if they shut down these programs. There's the president's on TV waving, "Hello, President." So I waved back, but he doesn't know that because unless he reads my thought processor, in which case he can go online now and say, "Computer, analyze the thoughts of the United States, and based upon all the thoughts, how many people in the United States are watching the afternoon news at 11:55 waved back?" Right? And he waits. Right? Computer says 14 waved back. Oh, okay. Location 13 in elderly nursing home, Republicans, 1 in Berkshire, Vermont, waving at his computer. Oh, okay. So we got a printout now. So we got one guy in Berkshire was waving, and a bunch of people in a senior citizen home was waving. Yeah, pretty good system here, huh? Now that's basically what you can do with this. Analyze anyone's thoughts by putting a keyword in and scanning it. Who's someone saying, Joe? This is weird. I don't know why they do this. They're obviously listening to me, and they want to get on the air. So I'm going to hold this up to this weird recorder. Now, I put this on this one strange channel I call 27. Let's see. Listen. the FBI is being analyzed because I think there's my gut feeling, something's amiss. Something's not quite right. It's quirky, It's people are too trusting. The United States has this Constitution, civil rights. Everyone assumes. The way the way it's written is like if you're part of the team, United States, Team USA, Olympics, we go by this Constitution, man. We're there for you, Now, for some reason, there's a lot of people that are in the USA and they're USA citizens, but they're not Team USA. They don't care about other people's human rights. They care about their own. But as far as other people, no way. They don't give a shit. They'll sell their country out in a heartbeat. They'll sell it out easily. They'll violate their oath, right? They'll just violate it. I wonder how many kids even say the Pledge of Allegiance every morning, right? Or are they erasing that from the minds of the people? I remember when I was a kid, every morning was the Pledge of Allegiance. You started your day. Now, if they haven't been doing that, that means that subtle brainwashing to the kids, right, to remain faithful to your country, which is not a bad thing, is gone. This one guy's laughing out here. He keeps the demented. This motherfucker is so fucking demented. He's got to be a syphilis case. He's got to have like syphilis and that mad cow wasting disease. There's something wrong with his brain. He laughs like a hideous sick man. He thinks it's funny to torment and hurt people, and he's got a bunch of people that follow him. It's insane. Nikki Cullen just said, now I don't know why they say this. Everything they say is based upon my bin file. Data about Joe Cullinan. Now everything in my file, which is words in a bin file is like an artificial intelligent, think of it as like a file box with file tabs on it. And every time a keyword is said, a file pops up like Windows, opens up, and its immediate data is immediately entered into the thought processor's harassment analyzer. So it pops this file up, it opens up, all Nikki's shit pops out, runs, and then it goes to Joe Cullinan, and it tries to interact with Cullinan's mind, creating a common thread through a common thought. And then when there's something created, then it will shoot back to this guy and then go into me, download another file that would open. So they're trying to distract you and put you on a tangent. And before you know, you're talking about the snowfall totals in Idaho. Why? Because Nick is watching the Weather Channel, right? 1 dead, multiple injured. Where's this? In Kentucky. This is another incident. Breaking news, 1 person dead after a school shooting in Bennington. Okay, Kentucky. Okay, this is today, this morning. Okay. It's getting out of hand, huh? Pretty active. Thank God I'm not going nowhere. I'm only going to kill anyone that tries to kill me as I sit here defending myself. Because I'm telling you, officer, it's getting bad. These sickos up in the mountains here, they're doing some kind of methamphetamine or designer drug that they already found in the state of Vermont in a bag. They are doing some sort of designer drug, right, that's causing them to behave like animals, totally demoralizing their brain, right? There's a fire. I don't know, is this the same school? National Guard is coming in. Speedy recovery attack. Claimed this is. Now, some say, is it North Korea using brain influential signals to influence the government and poison drug dealers in the United States? Now, when I say this nitwit listening will think he is Kim Jong and start using Kim Jong's voice print and yelling. So now this is a control center somewhere. A bunch of alcoholic drunks sitting back drinking or on their iPhones, having a grand fucking time. Total no care. The only time they're going to care is when Anheuser-Busch shuts down the beer factory and they're not delivering. Then these people are going to be like, what the fuck did we do? Right? They'll be like upset. What did we do this for? I don't understand. Why did we do this to ourselves? And they're like, what do you mean? They cut down. They shut down all the beer distributing in the country. There's no more alcohol or beer. They're like, what do you mean? Well, uh, you know, we're 200,000 alcoholics doing this, and total disregard for human life. And the only thing that feeds us is the alcohol now. And they turned it off. And these alcoholics will start crying. What are we going to do? And they're like, bathtub gin, pals. It's time. Back to we got to start making our own booze. Get the still going. Get the still going. All right, Grandpa, wake up! It's time to get that still going. Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready. Give me a beer, Grandpa. There's no more beer. We got to get the still going. What are you talking about? Get the mash supplies out. Let's make some mash, boys. We got to get this alcohol flowing in our blood. Right? Now, these aren't alcoholics, are they? Right? Not the way the government says you are. This is the real alcoholic. That's, Grandpa, when you finish with that stash of mash, when I get home from Clara Martin, this drug counselor, we can finish this batch up. And then we'll chop up that weed and move this meth out. Okay, son. Okay. Hold on. I'm good to go for the day. Okay. Back to work as a drug counselor. Oh, that's what they do up here. Research, thought processor, right? How many within the social service community are ex-alcoholic drug users? I don't know, 99%, right? How many are actual legitimate, like mental health care providers? Oh, I don't know, maybe 5%. Well, North Korea's in the news again. Anyway, so I got to take a break. Stop broadcast. I'm going to save this one. Ranting and raving.